Hello guys and welcome to TFT Worlds Day 1, game number 5. Enjoy.
We're getting that Nila. You know, we've seen some Kaisa be doing some work here. Also has the Thieves Gloves, which can be a decent win streak item. So we'll have to see where he goes from there. But yeah, a lot of options we can go here.
Few Lulus being tempting Omnomzi in the shop as well. Omnomzi, a player that's been doing so well, 23 points. I put him in my top 8 in my pick'ems. I knew he had a lot of potential. SEA as a region had a lot to prove this world, and I think they're doing really well for now.
Absolutely. I think we can all agree that they've been dominating most of the lobbies that we've watched, and it doesn't really come as a surprise when you think about it, right? This region is used to playing with the Chinese region, which notably is one of the most dominant in TFT, so doesn't surprise me too much that they're pretty good at it, but we're going to see where it comes out. So far, he bought out everything that he could find. That's kind of interesting. We'll see what direction the early augment is going to give. Normally, I ask people what they want to see. Mordok, what is it going to be?
Ooh, I'm gonna go with Prismatic this time.
Oh!
You know, getting to cast my first game here, so let's go something spicy. Let's get a Prismatic going.
That means it's guaranteed. Prismatic will be coming up. Mordok has pushed the buttons remotely. This is all telepathic with a dev as great as you are. But maybe Infinity Team could also be an option. We see Lucian pair, and we see the one cost all around.
Didn't press the button right. Like you need to retry that. Maybe
stacks on
something's
stacks.
not
It's time.
set up.
Surely, no Nasus, but surely it's time. Hyperbolic, I think, will be probably the choice. It looks like it is. Had 2 Lucians already. Lucian 2 now online for Omnomzi, and a great tempo augment overall.
Yeah, generally, I think we're going to see a little bit of a replay of the previous lobby with 3 hyperbolic chambers being picked up. Notably, with that, there's a faster growth on the side of VCLF. It's not going to be picked up. Another Blitzcrank augment. Sean on Ashe, though.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I think coming into today, I think a lot of people were expecting to maybe see when the 1/1/1s, we see something like the Lulu or some other reroll comps, maybe something like a Pantheon. But here we're seeing, again, like you said, a replay of the last game, a lot of Blitzcrank and a lot of Lucian. Surprising amount of Blitzcrank also, and so people really, it looks like, indexing on those 4 costs. You know, we're going to see that transition into something like the Riftwalker has been really popular all day. We do see this Ashe carry. That's the one carry that kind of like jumped out here, and that can do pretty well with the right items. Though I'm looking at these items and I'm not really thrilled here. There's not a ton of AD items to work with here, so going to have a struggle to take down this Blitzcrank, and it's going to lose the round.
I was waiting for admins to confirm it, because if I saw correctly, YBY1 is on bigger, better buckler. Pick that up here, as everybody else is going kind of more generic. What do you make of that?
It's a good tempo option, especially with the items he has. He has a stone plate as well. The extra armor is huge. The kind of solo tank frontline here with the Poppy. Full selling, going fully, indexing into Guide to Teen, still level 3. So going for not really a tempo start where he wants a win streak, but still wants to preserve HP especially.
I think the big thing here is he already has 5 poppies.
Exactly.
And we always joke about, just get 5 poppies or 5 Wukongs at 2-1, but he's got 5 poppies here, and that Poppy 3 can do a lot of damage early and can be really hard to take down.
He has another one in the orb, no?
Oh,
So that's
yeah,
6
that's going to be 6.
already on board for YBY. Definitely going to be something to look out for the other players. And on the other side, we are seeing Dobbs, who has picked up the Righteous Range.
And really, for all of Stage 3, I'm going to tell every player in this lobby, hide your carries, because this Poppy will be one-shotting left, right, and center. It's great to see as a viewer, as an opponent facing them in Stage 3 when you're trying to win streak of your own. It's not so great.
Yeah, it's really cool to see the Gargoyle Stoneplate used, by the way, as well, because Poppy's a defender, so he has all that built-in armor and will be really tanky. You usually need that extra magic resist, and so Gargoyle Stoneplate's going to give you both, right? It's going to give you that extra armor, which is going to do more damage thanks to the hero augment, but the magic resist is going to keep you alive. And so from here, he's got that tier. I kind of want to see like a redemption be built, give him that HP that he's missing, and really kind of run from there. So we'll see if that's what he goes for, but yeah.
One more round, and then we go into Carousel. He doesn't have the first priority, but with Belt not being the most sought-after component, he has a good chance to get it if he wants it. Nomzi on the other side on the Lucian, and I'm just looking across the board. We have 2 Hyperbolic Time Chamber, 2 Dynamic Defenses, and 1 Rocket Grab in this lobby.
And the Righteous Range for Dobbs essentially serves as a scoped weapon, so really it's going to work well with a Belveth in the late game. It's really depending on what you want to fit in, because the kill has kind of that odd, duelist tag you want to play around to some extent, but maybe you just don't if you just have the Belveth and you just fit it in as an extra unit that has kind of the power of a gold augment that is one of the best gold augments in the game right now in an AD flex meta.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to play that augment because you're stuck carrying that Kale. Unless you have an underground start or something that you can use to convert that into power later, it hasn't been a really successful augment, so I'm a little worried, and it seems like Dobbs has been struggling a bit today, so to see that augment pick might be a sign of that kind of like rough read on the meta.
Namzi picks up a tier, has a blue buff for the Lucian, had a really great start with the Lucian upgrade as well. A player that I know can play very well from ahead. I'm expecting this to be a very fast 7, fast 8 at stage 4, and I think overall a good chance of top 4.
Yeah, and YBY, we were talking about it, what you were saying. A belt, redemption would be nice. He picked it up. He has a belt and a chain vest right now. We're going to see what he makes out of that as we hop on board with Michael, who is currently on a little bit of a mix-up, has some mascots in, has some admins in, and we'll see where this board is going to go.
Giant Slayer not going to be the best slam this early, but it is something, some amount of damage amplification to this Lucian too as well. And similar position to Omnomzi, I think overall, I don't know about your pick'ems, but my #1 carry hero augment was the Lucian carry because it's just so good for a tournament like this where you want to play high tempo, you want to play to preserve HP and get to fast 7, fast 8 as quickly as possible.
Yeah, levels to 6 here, which I think is really smart, trying to preserve as much health as possible. And again, you look at these items and you see the mascots being built here. That's going to get you through the early game. Should give you a bunch of options. The Shojin, though, I think may put him in kind of a rough position later. That Shojin doesn't have a lot of good places in comps that we've seen be that successful. Twisted Fate doesn't use it, Jin doesn't use it, things like that, and we've seen Misfortune kind of struggle. So we'll have to see what he can transition that to. But he's clearly using it to get that extra XP, leveled to 6 here, and hopefully gets a win, but really struggling to get through this Blitzcrank, unfortunately.
Yeah, we just saw the admin being shown by our observer as well. It's just some generic healing every 5 seconds, not doing too much for your board strength, just going to add a little bit of extra beefiness to the entire comp, but in the end, it wasn't enough here.
Yeah, the healing per 5 in the early game is really strong because it's flat healing. And so it just, especially with that Blitzcrank, it's really hard to take that down. You don't have the penetration items built in yet. You don't have that Morgana. And so that's going to allow him to do really well early, but it does fall off pretty hard in like stage 4. So again, kind of looking to see what they transition that into.
Especially for Michael, with that loss, is a little bit devastating. The econ is completely gone at this point in stage 2. You want to have that 20 gold going to Krugs to eventually, obviously the leveling is there thanks to the augment itself, but you want to try and do both if possible. That's where this augment really does shine.
If I saw correctly, we just had an overlay showing the carry units from all of the players. If I saw correctly, Jipbok is on Underground. So that's something we need to look out for in the long run, if it's true. Just going to put it out there. But yeah, here we go. Underground's on board for him. Echo in shop as well if he wants it. Doesn't probably, but will be a player that you need to watch out. He has a lot of HP still, has been winning with the Undergrounds. That's always a threat.
I think it was BCLF had the same situation, also dynamic defenses, also that very beefy Blitzcrank, but also the Underground online as well. We've seen some Ezreal reroll played with the Blitzcrank tank as well. All you really want nowadays, outside of the, we move from super into now just having that 4 quick draw, you want a beefy frontline. And Blitz, sometimes, if you find that Blitz 3 early, can do that job.
Yeah, for a while, Blitzcrank, before the most recent nerf, was people were like, he's kind of like this legendary tank because he's so good at tanking. Yeah. That's all he does, but he just absorbs a lot of damage. But even post-nerf, especially in the early game, again, where you don't have those shred items and things like that, he can absorb a lot. We talked about that admin. So it really is an effective frontline. It just, again, it struggles right around stage 4 when people are starting to get their really big carries, because as soon as it falls over, your backline is just so weak.
2 poppies left for YBY. We'll see if he can find it. If he can, this will be kind of the terror of this lobby throughout this stage 3. It doesn't matter what carry you have, it will probably get one shot, especially if it's still a 1-star. Oh. And there we see another one coming online. We have a few more options to find. You want to be rolling on level 4 to have those extra chances at finding the 1 cost with a 55%. You're finding some Lulus here as well, but you need those poppies.
Yeah, 2 more poppies that he would like. Does he keep going under 30? He can still sell something off to make them back. Lulu being picked up left and right. Rel comes in, but no poppies to his avail, unfortunately. Not going to be in, and he's going so far down here, trying to really make it happen, and it's not going to come to life.
Yeah, the conventional wisdom here is sort of like if you don't hit by about 30 gold, you maybe sort of slow down and try to preserve that. Rolling all the way here on this 5-loss streak is going to be really tough here. And he's so close, right? He's almost in that cursed state. I almost think buying the Shens and the Ribbons was kind of the bait here. You know, he's trying to plan for later, but you can get those later. They're not that big of contested units here. And so now he's stuck with 8 Wukongs, 8 Lulus, and it looks like 8 Poppies. And that is a rough situation to be in because now you're sort of committed. Every turn you have to roll it down.
Sell the Shen in the end. I think that makes sense. I mean, you're not going to 3-star the Shen anyway, so you might as well just buy those later. You can't even fit him in the board just yet anyway, so a bit tough of a spot there. I think I understand why he rolled down so low. He was so close to so many things. Like, I'm going to hit something at the very least, but could not spike in the end. Gold augments now coming in. Scope weapons for Dobbs could be an option, but he already has that righteous range.
Yeah, we see the Ashe 3 come in. I'm a little worried, though, because the Ashe 3 has built Infinity Edge, which is not a great item on her. His spell doesn't need to crit. She just autos. So that ends up being kind of a wasted item. We do see the Poppy 3 come in, though.
Is.
Thank God. Yeah, and even has the Bramble here if he wanted to get some extra armor, which I think is good.
Yes.
Because now he's got the crit reduction, he's got the AoE damage reduction, and he's got full stats. So this is a great front line. Now it's about getting a backline going, right? Because you're going to run that 4 defender, and it's going to be okay, but you're going to need something to get through here, and so something like a Lulu can be okay. We're going to want to see 3 Gadgettine get in pretty quick. And again, we're sitting here at 0 gold. That's the other scary thing here.
Yeah, and other players are just much happier, much healthier. Chiphawk on the other side, we talked about it, has the undergrounds, has at least 40 gold, will get another heist, and so healthy up there. 94 HP, we are in stage 3-2. Has picked up the Jewel Lotus, notably, just a fan favorite, you know, gotta see it all the time from everybody. Apparently, yeah, it's gonna be rough.
And for the Lulu comp, some players are so just only remember playing this comp with Pantheon, with Supers, but this is a version that was played a lot at the very start of the patch. It is definitely a viable version. If you find a lot of natural Poppies and Wukong in stage 2, you can play this variant instead. It might have a slightly lower cap because you don't have that explosive damage from Lulu, but sometimes the front line takes over and you have damage from the Poppy herself as well.
Yeah, one of the interesting things here is like the positioning now, because you have the Poppy that you have to deal with and you have the Rocket Grab. So all of a sudden your backline is very vulnerable. And so a lot of these compositions that run things like the Jhin and the Twisted Fate are at a lot of risk. And so that's going to change everyone's positioning pretty heavily.
Looking at our leaderboard on the right side here, Xian is on 50 HP, and we know that he's on the Laser Corpse. We know that he's running the Ashe Carry augment. He has found the Ashe 3, and he has also picked up a Last Stand. So calling that out just a little bit, Laser Corp necessarily a comp that needs that Last Stand. It's strong by itself, but if he can get it going and get that Last Stand on top of it, we're looking at a board that is going to be very strong later on.
It's the items that are the problem. You know, Mordok mentioned it. I'm not sure what happened in the first carousel, what options he had as a loose streak player to not be able to find more than just that one sword. Maybe just unideal pairings in the components, but ideally you want to have a Deathblade would help a lot, of course, as well. But overall, just 3 items on Ashe is the biggest thing. She's 3-star already. You got the hardest part out of the way.
Yeah, with that augment, you get so much inherent attack speed. You can build things like you mentioned. You can go Deathblade, you can go Hurricane, Last Whisper, obviously really good, especially with all these Blitzcranks. To end up with just an IE is really scary.
He finds another BF sword.
Yeah,
though,
we did
so
get a
at
sword.
least there's that.
Yeah, but again, like without the Last Whisper, so hopefully he can find a Morgana pretty quickly. The Morgana will be really good because it's going to give both the armor and MR shred. And since he's running Laser Core, he'll also benefit from that as well. So Morgana would be a really good opt-in here.
Namzi has taken a bit of a hit with the Hyperbolic Time Chamber. He's at 60 HP now. I'm wondering where he's going exactly with those extra levels and how far he can actually stabilize that. But YBY finds the Lulu 3 now as well. The Archangel has been built, so he's salvaging his items a tiny bit, able to find a tier off of that carousel. Still 1 away from the Wukong. I don't know if you roll for it here. You try and level to just get your econ back up, roll down after Wolves, hit that Wukong, and start leveling and trying to hit a higher cap with this board.
I mean, he has been winning 2 rounds notably, so I think he's not in an imminent threat to actually make something happen here. As you said, he found the Lulu, he found the Archangels, he has the Poppy, so the board should be stable enough for him to actually build up some of that econ. Is going to get Rocket Grab, but doesn't matter because it's a Shen, so he's going to go right into that backline, and the Zephyr, of course, helps as well.
Yeah, I think the big thing here is that a Wukong 3 doesn't actually change the outcome of these fights much, whereas getting Gadgettine 3 in, getting Gadgettine 5 in, that's going to make the Poppy tankier and do more damage, the Lulu do more damage, and so I think right right now it really is get that econ back up, try to level up as quickly, and if you find a Wukong along the way, great, no problem. But that's getting that Poppy up is going to be big. And again, for him, the big thing is going to be he's invested in this Lulu now, so we've got to get items for that Lulu.
He does have a Zephyr. I'm curious how he uses it. There are a lot of solo frontline tanks with dynamic defenses with the stone plates. There's many players with stone plates already built, so I'm curious if he just tried to bypass frontline altogether, and maybe it's a bit of a surprise for some of these opponents coming into these final fights.
I think the reason I really like the Zephyr play there is that right now he's stuck at level 5, where a bunch of his opponents are level 6 and level 7, and that early Zephyr can allow him to even up that fight pretty quickly, and so that's going to allow him to preserve a lot of health right now, so I do like that slam right now.
Okay, we are looking at Michael's board, though. He's on 5 wins, 91 HP, and his board is looking pretty strong. Nearly all across the board, 2 stars. He has a Misfortune already. He has an itemized solution, so getting a lot of casts out of that hyperbolic time chamber, and essentially putting the rest of the lobby into a pressure chokehold.
I'm not sure if I guaranteed first, but this is going to be a very strong position, healthy, and also getting so many casts off every single fight, able to last as long as possible, and we're seeing the level how it's going here. I mean, he's going to be level 8 in no time. We're going to Wolves now, and he's almost level 8 with 50 gold to spare.
Yeah, I think this is a situation where you look at this health, you look at the items, got that Mana Zane so you can cast repeatedly. You're probably getting 6 XP a turn minimum, and that's going to allow you to go really high. And I look at these items, I mean, we talked about Misfortune not really being the play, but Aurelion Soul with these items is going to really pop off here. And so maybe if you can get like a Chalice or 2 as well, is kind of lacking on frontline right now. So we'll hope we get those kind of items to really seal the deal. But this could easily be a, you know, Fast 9, Legendary, Aurelion Soul, good frontline. And so, yeah, really good spot here.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes as we are looking across the board. I'm starting to worry a little bit for Xian. Now, he still has 30 HP, right? Shouldn't be too worried. Last Stand also existing for him, so that's going to be proccing, but his gold is not looking too good either. He didn't make the 50. He only made 30. He needs to find something, bring something online here. Now, as we're looking over, he's only on 3 laser core.
We're slowly getting there. The Deathblade has been built. I mean, the biggest thing was itemizing this Ashe because she has so much going for her. QSS is going to be the option. I understand the desperate measures for a situation like this one, but I'm not sure if it'll be enough. I mean, at some point, this comp should be really high tempo in stage 3, start at stage 4. They're going to start falling off slowly unless you push those laser core levels, find that Mordekaiser 2, find that Warwick. We're a little bit behind tempo right now for Xian.
Yeah, for sure. Quicksilver is such an interesting item because, like, it can have advantage, but I think more conventional knowledge here would have been to build the Guard Breaker. Guard Breaker would have given you that % damage multiplicativeness. You would have been able to do a lot with the Deathblade here, and that would have been really good. But the Quicksilver is going to reduce any, like, high-risk situations, right? 1 bad stun from, like, a Garen or 2, and that can cost you a fight. And so I think it is a safer play that maybe will save him. It feels like a play for 4th move.
Just saw Nomzi on the other side of the board who picked up a duelist emblem from the Ancient Archives. Wasn't really in a position to use that well, though.
I think he was still 50 gold, level 7. He's trying to wait for that spike. Maybe at 4-2, go 8 naturally and try and roll down and stabilize his board because he's down to now 8th place in the HP standings. Gold augment in the end for all of these players. We'll see some of the most obvious pickups that we've seen throughout the entire tournament, like Scope Weapons and Jewel Lotus, but what are the rest of our players picking out to finally round out their augment choices for this game?
Yeah, the interesting thing is jumping out is I see 2 players have picked Exiles, which is not something we've seen a lot of, but I do like Exiles as one of those augments that allows you to buy a lot of extra time. It's a surprising amount of shielding that often gets underestimated, and especially, again, with that Lucian augment, that's even more time to just keep casting, and so it's really cool to see that get picked.
Are looking at VCLF Sport, one of the Brazilian players coming in, has been called out as an absolute powerhouse. Currently very much middle of the pack, still going with the underground here, and we might be looking at a cash out soon.
So many players playing this out so slowly. It's almost weird. This is a World Championship Game 5 with everyone trying to coast into that fast 8. In the case of Michael, it's great news. He's going to be going fast 9 while still win streaking, and this means that I think he's the only player in this game actually playing for first, because this cap is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, the thing that scares me about that, though, is that, like, because we've talked about it earlier, right? The rest of the day felt very high pressure. This lobby does not feel as high pressure. And so I think what's going to happen is right around 5-1, everyone's going to spike really hard. And that's where, you know, first place could actually fall behind a bit. You know,
we continue. I mean, you're seeing that here.
Yeah,
you can just
this is what I'm talking
continue
about, like-
underground at 4-3, no problem. And Jipok still at 59 HP as well.
Right, and so even if you're, you know, level 9, if you're down 8 components or 2 radiant items, that's not going to be enough. And so there's a lot of people playing very greedy. This has been kind of the opposite of what we've seen all day.
Yeah, that's actually very, very true. However, some players are feeling the pressure regardless. Omnomzy down there with 28, Sean with 31, looking to claw their way into the top 4. Nomzy has found a win in the previous round, is on the Ox Slingers here, only with a Twisted Fate 1, but looks to maybe be enough, maybe help against the Fiddlesticks that Dobbs has found. Actually, Fiddlesticks and Urgot on the side of Dobbs' board already. 2 legendaries that are going to help him also print some econ here and some components as he's picking up one of the belts, but it will be enough for both Xian and Omnomzy to find a win.
And a good sign, he's lost, or he's won rather against someone that has used up all his gold, has hit his max cap for now. It's going to be Dobbs, of course, playing that scoped weapons with the Belveth 2 online, but only 1 item as well. All these different items split up between the Urgot, the Ace, and the Belveth. Cannot get enough DPS onto these single targets.
Yeah, it's so interesting because, again, we talked about how the augments were 1-1-1 this time. And, you know, very much on ladder, that usually signals time to re-roll. But here we're just not seeing it, right? We're seeing everyone really greed to 8, sort of play it slow. And, like, we see the Aurelion Souls very contested right now. The Twisted Fates very contested. And so, again, this stage 5 spike is going to be massive.
Yeah, the players that are re-rolling are the ones that are losing out, right? Look at Sean. He picked up the Ash. He said, okay, I guess this is what we're doing. 1 cost re-roll. Signs have been set. Mortalk told us. But no, the rest of the lobby said, I'm not participating. You go alone.
That's going to be it for VC Live. Enough is enough. We can't go too far. We're going to stage 5 now. Player players are going to start spiking as well. Does cash out in the end. Is going to roll down fully. Going to fully pivot off of this underground board as well. And we'll see what he can come up with in the end. It looks like he's just going to check his admin for now, see what's up in 4 admin, and that's going to be the play for now.
Yeah, this is an interesting spot because, again, the Ornn items aren't like the most big spike. This looks like about Heist 3. And so right now he's got those Nikos that can do okay, but Nikos is always a secondary carry. Again, you usually want something like the Twisted Fate. 4 admin is okay, but again, no real carry here. LeBlanc 1 is not going to win these fights. And so this is kind of not the cash out I think he was looking for. But again, my mark for Underground was always 40 health. And so right at 38, I do think it was correct to take it here.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, because right on the other side is a board that is also trying to go into Twisted Fate, into the Spell Slingers, so they're going to compete each other just a little bit. BCLF will feel the stronger power coming from the 3-item Twisted Fate, despite only being 1 star, will be enough to take down the LeBlanc that's currently being his item holder.
You've rolled down level 8, you're at 10 gold, and you lose this fight. It's a very bad sign, but you have hit some extra upgrades here. Maybe find that LeBlanc pair, but I think it's just time to sell her off. We've moved on to the 4 cost now. Nico comes online. Anima Visage on the Rammus can do a lot as a secondary tank, but I'm seeing this board and it's missing some oomph compared to what I expected after a huge cash out. We're almost going to stage 5 as well, and every board around this is going to start spiking like crazy.
Yeah, speaking of which, we're seeing the level 9 board with another 20 gold to roll down here. Already transitioned the items to a Misfortune, though. And so, again, we talked about how Misfortune, I think, isn't quite the high cap you're looking for, but a lot of the Aurelion Souls have already been picked up, so hopefully we can see that transition, because a Misfortune just hasn't been quite the first place comp that people have been looking for.
Yeah, well, you can see 2 of the Aurelion Souls on the enemy board, 1 on the bench and 1 on the board, and another Aurelion Soul in shop. But Michael really saying, I'm not interested in that. I'm good with my Misfortune. I don't care about the Laser Core, and I'm going to take down Bintum regardless.
It is less than ideal 2 ace on the board as well, so maybe trying to move towards that 4 ace for his cap board instead of the ace. So we see in the shop it's not being picked up. Yeah. I think the direction is pretty clear for Michael here, and he has a lot of HP to work with, as well as a little bit of gold if he's able to save up into this PvE round.
Jipok now also cashing out his highest here as we are in the Aurelian Doom phase. Looking all across the board, the only player that's really healthy is him with 60 gold, Michael with 42, and then the rest of them are struggling. You can see the very bottom 9-4 and 9 gold with very little HP to work with. These players are really, you know, you're in that situation where you're like, oh, maybe it's a 7th, maybe it's a 6th, just like one more, maybe I can make it into those top 4.
Yeah, getting the Radiant Warmogs here, I would have liked to see that on the Blitzcrank. That's a really good item for that Blitzcrank. Instead, deciding to put it on the Vi, and he has an item he has 2 item removers, so that feels a little off. So we're kind of seeing that underground transition that causes a lot of players to get pretty dizzy here.
We saw Dr. O in the last game. Hopefully, his Korean compatriot is able to get things together in this transition before the fight starts. He is healthy now, but this is a point in time where if you take a few losses, all of a sudden 35 HP turns into 10 or turns into 5 after a few, maybe 1 or 2 losses. So you have to be very careful here. You can't even pick up the items. There's just too much going on the bench. There's 2 removers, 2 reforgers. Can we just, you know, use one of these just randomly because there's just not even space there?
Go away.
Is there like a garbage can coming in the future? Maybe you can just throw away the things you don't need.
Like a bank that you can put some items in.
A remover for removers. Perfect.
Nice, nice.
All right, we're looking over Jipok's shoulder as he goes up against Bintum. It is Korea against Korea in this matchup. Both of them don't have much to lose, but the player that does is VCLF, 15 HP, and he needs to try and preserve it. Bintum being knocked down to 13, Xian being knocked down to 17, and VCLF will feel the power of Michael being knocked down to 5.
Yeah, now we're at the point now where everyone has spiked. We're seeing a lot of strong boards, right? That Echo with the Radiant Warmogs and the Dragon Claw, every AP composition is going to struggle to take that thing down. That is going to be really rough. So now we're going to see people start to really fall out here. And again, comparing this to previous lobbies where we would see like 1 or 2 people out, but we still have, you know, everyone above like 13, 17, except for 8th place here. So now kind of comes the time here. And I'm looking at this board and I'm kind of going, where's the damage?
Yeah, these are all boards that you're looking at a Game 5 of World Championships. This is Stage 5. These are not the boards that win out. These are not the boards that make it the top 4, despite it being such a slow game where you had so much time to build into something truly special. And it's going to be a tough fight for both of these players. On the one side, YBY playing still with that Lulu carry, with the Wukong, with the Poppy as well. The Poppy still deleting those corner carries. Acel almost taken down. And the Nico with the Archangel stacking is, I think, VCLF's only hope.
Yeah, VCLF is down there, 5 HP. He needs a win so desperately. And the Lulu in the backline just seems to be protected without. And the Aatrox is still alive, trying to make it there. Nico also still helping. Lulu has dropped down. VCLF can hold on. And Bintum also knocked down to those single digits, but is still here, is still clawing his way,
so close,
trying to be with everybody else. Shan, notably, also down there.
So Riven 3 actually can do a surprising amount of damage because the way her spell works is if she has higher health than the opponent, it ends up doing a massive increased amount. And so at least you have some damage there as well as the laser core. If we can get lucky and find a Mordekaiser here and get 5 laser core, you've also got the electrocute damage, which is kind of something to underappreciate. So it's a very interesting state here where we're like, most of our damage is this like passive invisible damage rather than anything you're seeing from like the items or anything like that.
Titan Resolve now on the Riven as well.
Somebody is going to get knocked out here. It's Bintum against Xian. Both of these players are on their last leg. Who is it going to be? We're looking at the laser core on the side of Xian, but they're being surrounded by the Warwick, by the Riven that you have called out earlier, and it seems to be just too much. Xian is going to get knocked out here. So will Namzi, and VCLF will also follow. Xian actually holding on with that last leg.
Yeah, the last stand made a big difference there. That's 2 extra placements just from that augment pick, so that's a really nice thing. And that's going to allow the Ashe to get the Omnivamp now, which with all that damage is actually pretty good. So we might see a comeback and maybe even a top 4 here if you can get something really good.
Archangels could be a good pickup here. The Gunblade as well could be an interesting choice here, but overall, Locket, we don't have a duelist player in this lobby right now. The Rageblade, maybe just the Janna is going to be a pickup for Jipok in the end.
Yeah, the Janna definitely, allows you to buff up those carries based on which weather it is. So a lot of options here. But now we're seeing, again, this is the situation, right? You've got Last Stand, you've got 5 Laser Core, you've got the Morgana with the Shiv. We've seen that a bunch to apply both the Armor Shred and the Magic Resist Shred. So this is a decent situation to be in. The Jeweled Gauntlet kind of ends up on the Mordekaiser, so that might do some work there.
He's actually 1 Morgana away from Morgana 3, which would be a pretty big upgrade, I would say. With 2 Morganas on board, of course, you're going to get that extra stun, which helps a lot to keep everybody away from the Ashe. That is quite squishy, despite being a 3-star, but in comes a YBY with the Gadgettine reroll, Lulu in the back line, Poppy in the front line. Will it be enough for the Ashe to survive? She's been positioned in a way where she shouldn't get targeted right away. The Morganas are helping to avoid that, but can she take down the enemy board before she gets in trouble? The Poppy will fall, the Wukong will also fall, and I think the Ashe is okay. She is going to survive. YBY taking a hit here, and on the other side, I think we had somebody getting knocked out. Yeah, Bintum.
Yeah, it's so interesting because the Poppy now is struggling because you get hit with the Armor Shred, and that causes you to do less damage. And in addition, you have the Last Stand here, which is giving you more armor and MR. So you're surviving those hits, then healing from them with the Omnivamp. You're not doing as much damage, and so that comp's really falling off. It really needs to find like a Nunu for 5 Gadgettine.
I think this game was a perfect study of lobby tempo as well. YBY was the only player pushing tempo in stages 3 and 4. He was the only one doing it. Everyone else stayed healthy. No one killed Xian despite having a very slow stage 3 or 4. Allowed him to cap out into 5 Laser Core, find the Mordekaiser as well. Just a very odd game 5, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to see if YBY gets another loss, though. It could be his last one if it's devastating enough going up against Dobbs here, but his comp is looking strong across the Aurelion Soul. They're going to survive, and a big, big money boost coming in from the Undertow here. Very, very nice.
But not big enough. The Bel'Veth can't clean up here all by herself. A big hit for Dobbs, but not quite big enough. Xian taken down in 5th. Dobbs now at 4 HP. YBY at 11. Very close, but I mean, to no one's surprise, Michael, 57 HP and streaking. I think he had such a good position in stage 4. It was really hard to beat.
Yeah, that was such a good spot here, and again, traded some of that health for a stronger board at the end game. We'll take a look at that in a bit, but at least guaranteed top 2 from this point. There's no way he doesn't at least top 2. It's a question now of can anyone build a stronger board, right? And we look at this board, like I said, you need at least 5 Gadgettine to really have a shot, but otherwise that's not going to be able to compete. We saw some of those underground cash outs earlier. Dobbs did have a lot of those legendary threats, but he's still level 8, so I feel like that's not going to be enough on that end.
Gonna look at all of the boards at the same time here to get a little bit of an impression. On the bottom left, that is Dobbs' board that you were talking about. The Aurelion Soul with 2 Archangels. Definitely something to look out for, but I think maybe just not quite enough yet. On the bottom right side, we have Jipok, who is into those Arc Slingers, has found them early, has found the Jeweled Lotus, the Action Mark. Really, really nice augments for that comp. You're looking at a very strong version of that board, and he has a lot of gold as well.
And Dobbs on Aatrox 1 still, that's going to be the biggest problem. The front line just melting too quick for the back line to actually scale with those Archangels on the A-Soul.
Oh, that Syndra 2 gets Zephyr. That Syndra 2 has such great items. On the other side, there's just so much going on here. It has the Twisted Fate. Even the Janna items, that is just a ton of damage from that Janna. These fights are going to be pretty close. But like you said, the Aatrox 1 falling over, and that's going to be big here, allowing the Twisted Fate to get through. Is now on the Aurelion Soul. And it looks like
the stun is big from the Alistar. Is it big enough? It looks like it is. Can the Bel'Veth do it? The 1v1. TF wins it in the end. Dobbs taken down in 4th. Jipok still alive, and Michael, despite taking a loss, he has such a massive HP lead.
Yeah, that was really big here. And so we see, 5 Gadgettine did manage to find the Nunu. That is really big. That's going to allow him to get that extra item and the extra damage reduction and damage done on both the Lulu and the Poppy. So that is big, and I think that's what allowed him to win that. If he can get that Nunu 2 with a bunch of items, that could be a first place here. On the other side here, we're seeing, the Ox Force Spellslinger, really good items. And I love the rainy weather here, just allowing the Viego to just get right to it. Everything's going there. So really like this setup.
Yeah, and if you're looking at Jipok's board, he was actually one of the players that picked up dynamic defenses, but nevertheless, there's a rocket grab involved on his Fiora, taken back the backline carries, and we'll see.
Oh my goodness, the
no.
skylines come down and the backline is just absolutely deleted. What can you do against Michael's board? The Syndra is just out of control as well with the Manazane, the blue buff. Look at that hit. Jipok now down to 3. YBY, if he takes a loss here, he might get knocked out in 3rd.
Yeah, the Renegade Mordekaiser just does so much damage. I think the only way he loses fights is if that building falls in the wrong spot. And yeah, YBY getting knocked out here. So we're down to our top 2.
Michael finding Nunu too as YBY gets eliminated, was holding on to them. But of course, there's a Syndra involved, and she's going to throw that big boy onto the map. Will add a lot more chaos for Jipok's board. And if you're looking at these boards side by side, yes, level 9 for both of them, but Michael on the back of his very strong early start, itemizing that Lucian, getting the extra hyperbolic time chamber cast, going level 9 so early, and being able to cap out this board in the best way how. You're gonna see the skyscraper come down one more time. It is going to fall on the entire enemy backline. Let's see. And it is doing so much damage to the entire enemy board. I'm not sure Jipok could do anything else here as Michael is shredding through the lobby.
And not just the Syndra and the Fiddle, who is still alive, has not been activated yet. T-Pose is still going on in the front line. The TF is trying his absolute best with the Axiomar, getting all those extra casts off. But overall, the board might be too strong. But look at this Echo tanking so much damage. I think the biggest difference in this fight was the Mordekaiser not actually hitting the TF, allowing all this extra DPS to come through. And TF overall safe the entirety of the fight.
Yeah, TF being safe was one thing, but we talked about this earlier, right? That Echo with really good items is not going to die to magic damage. That Mordekaiser is never going to kill that Echo. What'll happen is maybe when you get down to 8v1, then you can finally kill that Echo, but the lack of physical damage here is really costing.
A huge
Michael
pickup.
Being picked, like he found that Aegis emblem. That's so big against the Oxlingers from Jipok. Just, I think, maybe one of the best things he could have picked up here, period.
Yeah, that's a huge pickup. You know, Aegis is one of those comps that it doesn't like necessarily give you the fight like, you know, old Mystic did, but it definitely makes a difference here. And even just the fact that you now have an Aegis Nunu rolling around, that is going to be really hard for Twisted Fate to take out. You've got a healing with the mascot, so here we go. This is going to be a big fight.
And the Nunu inside, not out on the bench, adding the mascot in as well over the Fiddle can just be launched in as well in the end.
Yeah, let's see him go. He's starting slowly, but that Nunu will be terribly hard to take down. In comes the Skyscraper, and it takes out the Twisted Fate right from the get-go. That is it for Jipok. There is nothing and no one that can save him now. The ball keeps on rolling, and Michael will secure himself a first spot in round 5 of the TFT Championship here today.